So I don't know about others, but I'd much rather prefer the design of this 2-year-old M1 MacBook Air than of the newer MacBook models. It has that classic all metal or aluminum, whatever you want to call it, seemingly seamless build that's rather cold to the touch, but extremely, extremely smooth. The 13.3-inch Retina display, LED we'll call it, is pretty sharp and the colors are nice and vivid. And it gets decently bright indoors too. Outdoors, not so much, but indoors, it gets pretty bright. The port selection is not something I'm a fan of though. This was before Apple realized how stupid and inconvenient it is just to have 2 USB ports on a laptop. And this only had that, 2 USB ports, a headphone jack, and let me tell you, I move files all the time from my devices to my computer, and I've been resorted to use dongles that sometimes work, sometimes don't. I love the keyboard and trackpad though. I sometimes go out of my way just to type on this laptop. The keyboard first just feels very nice, the keys themselves, and the sound is very satisfying too. It just has that nice bassy, thumpy feedback. It's hard to explain, but if you know, then you know. The trackpad I noticed does tend to become less smooth over time. This because of probably the oils and whatever have you that is on our fingers. But just cleaning it ever so often, it kind of just fixes that. And also the trackpad has 3D touch, remember that? Like on old iPhones. I never really got into using it though, because you kind of consciously have to force touch your finger and press your finger, but it's here. And the speakers just sound absolutely amazing. The speakers are, first of all, stereo, and then they have that perfect, clear, nice bassy sound too. So let me just start by saying that I have no idea what I'm talking about when it comes to performance. I'm very, very uneducated on the topic of chipsets and components and comparing them and CPUs, GPUs, anything technical like that. So I won't even try to talk as if I know what I'm talking about because I don't. So instead of all that, I'm just gonna tell you my specific uses, how I use this laptop, and maybe hopefully it resonates with somebody else that has a similar style or workflow to me. So I think probably the most intensive tasks that I've been doing on this laptop is firstly video editing, and a close second to that is photo editing. Other than those two things, I don't really ask too much from this computer. For video editing, firstly, I edit everything in DaVinci Resolve, and they're all just 1080p files, no 4K, nothing higher than 1080p, 60 frames a second. And I found that the Air does quite a good job of dealing with these edits. It's not perfect, however. There still are some stutters and frame drops along the way, but for the most part, it cuts, edits, renders, exports pretty neatly. So it's nice to see. Photo editing is probably more of a hassle than video editing is on this computer, funny enough. So I use Lightroom for all my photo edits, and I use Affinity Photo, which is like Photoshop, for all my photo manipulation needs. Now after 2 years of this, Lightroom is no longer as quick and as snappy as it once used to be, which I fully expected, of course. Now it just has a hard time jumping between big raw photos. It has trouble with previews when I'm trying to see before and after of a photo, and just quick, snappy things that it could do with ease just a year ago. Now it sort of struggles. But honestly, those are really the only weaknesses that I've noticed, just a little stuttering and hiccuping. Everything else pretty much functions fine. All the apps work pretty much like they did on day one. And macOS Ventura now, all things considered, actually does help with some of those issues that I had on Monterey. And in a way, it makes the laptop feel a little lighter, a little airier, one could say. And that new settings page on Ventura is very much welcomed. So Apple claims that this MacBook Air could get up to 15 hours of web browsing and up to 18 hours of Apple TV media playback. I'll let the diehard Apple TV fans investigate that more, but for me, battery life was never an issue, and it still isn't an issue, even after 2 years and a few months. With macOS Ventura now, we can now see some more info on the computer's battery, like we can do on iPhones with iOS. And it says for mine that mine is at about 97% battery health, and it's performing normally, it says. And that related to the 15 hours of web browsing, that's pretty much spot on. If that's all I really do on this laptop is just web browse on Safari, then before the battery can die, I get bored of using the computer. So definitely web browsing will not diminish the battery too much. My editing tasks do take a lot out of the battery though, but it's something that I don't really notice too much because I tend to just take breaks, before I can notice that the battery is seriously diminished. And if it is that case, I just tend to charge the battery, for a quick 20 to 30 minutes and I'm good. Yes, the battery life on this MacBook Air was better when I first got it about 2 years ago, but it's not bad now. It's not bad for, that period of time later. So some things I've compiled along the way using this thing for 2+ years that I dislike. Now there's not too much to dislike. If anything, these are just minor nitpicks. So of course the SD card reader, it would have been just so beneficial for people that bought this laptop, and it would have just improved a lot of workflows. And the webcam, it could at least been 1080p, right? It's just so hard to look at. I don't know how, considering all the video conferencing and all the calls that we do using the webcam, it would have been really nice just to have a higher quality webcam in here. But now we can use iPhones as our webcam, so there's that. And the price is still $1,000 after this laptop being out for 2 years, a few months. No price drop. The newer M2 laptops have already come out as well, but the price still remains the same on these. At least when I last checked on Apple's website, these are still $999. And that's it. I told you there's not much to dislike about these laptops, just minor inconveniences, minor things. But there is a lot to like. The awesome wallpaper selections. Great, cool, unique wallpapers. The amazing sounding and feeling keyboard that just makes you actually want to type on it, to go out of your way to type on it. The booming stereo speakers, the smooth and versatile trackpad with 3D touch, which I don't think most people use, but it's still nice to have. The sharp screen, like I said, does get pretty bright indoors. And this is just a preference, but I would have just loved a OLED laptop, or whichever technology that is, where all the pixels turn off to do complete blacks. And macOS Ventura, of course. I didn't update to macOS Ventura for the longest time because I figured that it would probably slow down the computer because it is such a big update. But honestly, the computer actually feels faster now, and it actually feels better to use. And I could go just on and on about what I like, but those are just some of the highlights. So yes, still a very good entry-level laptop from Apple. It's not the Pro, it's not the Lite, I guess, it's the Air, period. Like I said before, I don't know much about laptops, so I won't make any recommendations. This was really just a record of my experience. If you do video edit like I do and you edit a lot of photos like me, hopefully my experience was helpful for you. So do you guys have this laptop? Did you get it when it came out? And if so, what do you think about it now? You've heard my thoughts. I'd love to hear yours. And let me know what other tech stuff you would like to see videos on. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.